The American Revolution. A story often told as a simple tale of colonists tossing tea into Boston Harbor, fed up with British taxes. But the reality, like most historical events, is far more nuanced. It was a period marked by intense debates and ideological battles. It wasn't just about money, it was about ideas, principles, and the pursuit of a radical new vision self-governance. The colonists were driven by a desire for autonomy and the right to determine their own destiny. This revolution, a beacon of liberty for many, was fueled by a complex interplay of economic grievances, political power struggles, and evolving ideologies. The quest for freedom was intertwined with the struggle for economic independence and political representation. To truly understand its significance, we must delve deeper than the surface, beyond the simplistic narrative of a tax revolt. We need to explore the underlying causes and the broader context of the era. This essay aims to unpack the American Revolution's multifaceted narrative. We will examine the various dimensions that contributed to this monumental event. We will explore the lesser-known aspects, the simmering tensions, and the pivotal figures that shaped this pivotal period. These individuals and their actions played crucial roles in the unfolding drama of the Revolution. Join us as we journey back to a time of upheaval, courage, and the birth of a nation. Together, we will uncover the layers of history that reveal the true essence of the American Revolution. The American colonies for decades had enjoyed relative autonomy. The vast Atlantic Ocean created a distance that fostered a sense of independence among the colonists. However, this period of self-rule was not to last. Following the costly French and Indian War, Great Britain, burdened by war debts, turned its attention towards its American colonies. The Crown saw an opportunity to extract revenue from the colonies, believing they should contribute to the empire's financial recovery. This shift in policy, however, directly clashed with the growing sense of self-reliance and autonomy brewing in the colonies. The stage was set for a clash of ideologies, one that would redefine the relationship between a nation and its colonies. The Stamp Act of 1765, a direct tax on printed materials, ignited the flames of discontent. The colonists, accustomed to self-governance and local representation, saw this act as a blatant violation of their rights. No taxation without representation became the rallying cry, a powerful articulation of the colonists' grievances. They argued that without elected representatives in the British Parliament, they were being unjustly taxed without a voice to represent their interests. The Stamp Act, though later repealed, set a dangerous precedent. It solidified the colonists' resolve to resist what they perceived as British tyranny. The seeds of revolution were sown, and the fight for liberty had begun. Section 4, The Path to Rebellion. From protests to armed resistance. The years leading up to the revolution were marked by escalating tensions and increasingly bolder acts of defiance. Colonists were growing increasingly frustrated with British rule, feeling their rights as Englishmen were being trampled upon. The Townshend Acts, which imposed new taxes on goods like tea, glass, and paper, were met with widespread boycotts and protests. These taxes were seen as an abuse of power, as the colonists had no representation in the British Parliament. The Boston Massacre of 1770, a bloody confrontation between British soldiers and unarmed colonists, further inflamed anti-British sentiment. This tragic event was used as a powerful propaganda tool by colonial leaders to rally support against British rule. Though the incident's details remain contested, it served as a potent symbol of British oppression. The trial of the soldiers involved only added to the controversy, with many colonists feeling that justice had not been served. Then came the Boston Tea Party in 1773, a daring act of defiance where colonists disguised as Native Americans dumped British tea into Boston Harbor, protesting the Tea Act. This bold move was a direct challenge to British economic policies and authority. This act, a direct challenge to British authority, pushed the two sides closer to the brink of war. The British government could not ignore such a blatant act of rebellion, and tensions continued to rise. The British responded with the Coercive Acts, also known as the Intolerable Acts, which aimed to punish Massachusetts and quell the growing unrest. These harsh measures included closing Boston Harbor and revoking Massachusetts' charter. These acts, however, had the opposite effect, galvanizing colonial unity and pushing them further down the path of armed resistance. The colonies began to see themselves as a united front against British tyranny, setting the stage for the Revolutionary War. Section 5. Shots heard around the world. Lexington and Concord. The simmering tensions finally boiled over in April 1775. British troops marched towards Concord, Massachusetts, intending to seize colonial military supplies. However, the colonists, forewarned by writers like Paul Revere, were ready. At Lexington, a small group of colonial militiamen faced off against the British. The first shots of the American Revolution were fired, marking the beginning of open warfare between the colonies and Great Britain. Though the British eventually reached Concord, they found the colonists' supplies removed. The ensuing battles at Lexington and Concord, though militarily insignificant, held immense symbolic value. They marked the point of no return, the moment when a colony transformed into a nation willing to fight for its freedom. Section 6. Declaring Independence, a nation forged in liberty. On July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress, representing the 13 colonies, took a monumental step. They declared their independence from Great Britain, issuing the Declaration of Independence, a document that would forever alter the course of history. Penned by Thomas Jefferson, the Declaration articulated the colonists' grievances against British rule and asserted their right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It was a radical document, a bold statement that proclaimed the inherent rights of man and the legitimacy of a government by and for the people. The Declaration of Independence became a beacon of hope for oppressed people worldwide, inspiring future revolutions and struggles for freedom. It solidified the ideals upon which the United States was founded, ideals that continue to be debated, challenged, and championed to this day. Section 7. A Revolution's Legacy, Echoes of Freedom. The American Revolution was not just a war for independence, it was a social and political experiment on a grand scale. It was a bold declaration that people had the right to govern themselves, free from the tyranny of monarchs and distant empires. It challenged the very notion of monarchy and empire, paving the way for democratic ideals to take root and flourish. The revolution questioned the legitimacy of inherited power, and championed the idea that governance should be based on the consent of the governed. The revolution's impact extended far beyond the shores of North America. It sent ripples across the globe, influencing political thought and inspiring movements for change in distant lands. It inspired revolutions in France, Haiti, and Latin America, igniting a global firestorm of change. These movements sought to overthrow oppressive regimes and establish new forms of government based on liberty and equality. It served as a testament to the power of ordinary people to rise up against oppression and demand a say in their own governance. The slogans and ideals of the American Revolution resonated with people worldwide, becoming a rallying cry for justice and self-determination. The American Revolution, though a pivotal moment in history, was not a singular event. It was part of a larger tapestry of human struggle and aspiration, a chapter in the ongoing story of humanity's quest for freedom. It was part of a larger human narrative, a story of the ongoing struggle for freedom, equality, and self-determination. Each revolution, each movement, added to the collective momentum towards a more just and equitable world. The fight for these ideals continues today, reminding us that the pursuit of a more just and equitable world is an ongoing process. A journey that requires constant vigilance, engagement, and a willingness to challenge the status quo. The echoes of freedom from the past continue to inspire and guide us in our present and future endeavors.